Right. Hello. Welcome to the Game Dev Local podcast. I'm your host, Carina Nilsson, and today I'll be talking to Jarvs. We're going to talk about indie games that inspire her, being a community manager, and Nothing Without Us. And that's a nonprofit aimed at building community awareness and inclusion for accessibility and disability within the gaming industry, to name a few. So, to start with, Jarvs, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, that was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? That explaining.
That is a bit of a mouthful, yeah. But I wanted to make sure that I mentioned everything because it's really important.
Yeah. We need to work on our tagline, I think. Hi, I'm Jarvs. Some of you will know me already, some of you don't. I've been in the gaming space now since 2019. Before that, I was a drama teacher, so very different. Left going to games at 29, so sort of late stage. It's early really, but for me it felt like late stage career change. I'm giant nerd, as you can see by my room.
I can see. I love that. It's a good background. I should have more for my background as well, to be honest.
You'll get there.
It's a work in progress.
There, so you've got time. But I started out in community work. Then I was a marketing director, went back to community work for a bit, and now I am head of communications at Happy Volcano, which is an indie studio. We're remote first, but the base of the company is in Belgium. And I'm really happy there, loving it. And then I also do social media for Nothing Without Us. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Nutshell.
TLDR.
Yeah, basically.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I think maybe I want to know a little bit about games, the kind of games that you like and the kind of games that really inspire you. I think particularly indie games, right? Not so much
Yeah, indie is my jam. Like I do play AAA games, and there are a few that I love. Like you can see my 19 inches of Venom statue behind me.
That is impressive. Is that Spider-Man and Miles?
And Miles, yeah. And then I've got my Geralt and my Horizon thing. So I do like AAA, but indie is where my heart is. That's where my love is. I think that's where the most innovation is in the industry. And as a creative person, that excites me. I like to see what's coming out of the indie space because people take more risks.
You've got smaller teams. You've got maybe more creative people that came together over something.
Less red tape.
Exactly.
Less publisher pressure. So I excuse my cat's butt in the camera.
It's all good.
So I prefer indies. As you can see, I've got a deucer right above my head. Hades is my favorite game of all time. All of my social media handles are Jarv Deucer because I am obsessed. But I genuinely just think it's the most incredible game ever made. I think Supergiant just magic. They made like a game that I wished for my whole life, kind of thing with that game.
It's amazing when that happens. You just see it and you just go, this was just made.
Yeah, and the thing is that I wasn't into roguelikes before. Like it wasn't my genre. It was just that game.
Yeah. It's interesting that the genre in itself, it's like roguelites is something that I never enjoyed because I want to keep all of my progress. I want to make sure that I just follow this all the way through. So, but it's been interesting for myself as well recently, just having interest in that kind of genre and actually enjoying games that are like that.
Yeah, it's fun when you dip into something that you didn't think you would enjoy. Like because I'm not ashamed. I'm a ragey gamer. Like I get really annoyed. And if I feel like something's unfair, thank you, Kat, for sitting right in front of me. If I think something's unfair, it really annoys me. So like Souls games, for example, I find them punishing for the sake of it. I don't feel like I'm learning when I play those, so it just stresses me out and I get annoyed. But with Hades and other roguelikes, I find that every time I die, I've learned something from it and it changes the way I approach it in the next run. And there's something about that loop that really sort of fit with me. And for Hades in particular, they took that loop and then added such a deep narrative to it. And I think that's what makes it special, is that like I have played that game on every platform, like literally every platform, and I have completed it as far as the story goes on every platform. So that means you have to kill Hades 10 times and then do a little bit afterwards. And I was still getting dialogue that I hadn't had before.
That is impressive.
That's insane. How does a team the size of Supergiant write a narrative that deep? Like,
that is, yeah. You don't get that kind of experience as a norm. Like, no. I think my first experience with that kind of depth of dialogue options is Baldur's Gate 3, which my first installment that I played of this type of game. It's so extraordinary, the amount of depth of like certain scenarios. Just Larian is, shout out to Larian. We love you so much.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was insane.
My husband and I fell in love playing Divinity. Like, it was the thing that we first played together, and then we played Divinity 2 as well. So we're big Larian fans in this house.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that.
We both played as little dwarf women. We were like a little lesbian couple, and I love them. They'll always be in my memory.
I love that.
Hades has that level of depth, and it's an indie game made by a really tiny team. So it's taken every ounce of strength I've got not to play Hades 2. I'm waiting for the 1.0, and like they keep dropping all this content, and I keep seeing it, and I'm like, just wait. It's so hard.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so Hades is definitely my favorite game. Sayonara Wild Hearts is another one that I really love. Annapurna Interactive from about 5 years ago, I think. I don't know when it came out now. I want to say around 2020-ish. That game has the best soundtrack ever.
Oh, nice.
And again, I'm not normally a rhythm based gamer. I'm not very good at it, which is bad because I used to teach music, but I'm not very good at them. But Sayonara Wild Hearts is one of those games that you can kind of get into a flow state with. And I just loved it. I jam. I play it so many times. Anytime I'm stressed and I need to unwind, that's one of my go-tos.
Yeah.
And then Dave the Diver, I fell in love with.
Oh, I still need to try that. I hear nothing but good things about it, and I'm a very primarily like a pixel game gamer. I love. And just the wildness that I've seen of like what can go on in this game.
It's so brilliant. Like the thing I love about it is that it's not one game. Like there's so many different gameplay styles and genres mixed into one, and you never really know what to expect next. Yeah. Because it's obviously advertised as like the diving side and the sushi side, but on top of that, there's loads of mini games that go on and different encounters that completely change the way you play. And I played that just after I had my son, and I was in recovery from having a C-section, and I like basically was stuck on the couch.
Oh wow, yeah.
Just that's all I did when I wasn't with my baby was play Dave the Diver. That's all I did. Played every single ounce of it, and I'm so excited because there's a crossover with Like a Dragon coming. The Yakuza series is my favorite series of games ever, which I know isn't indie, but it's I just love them, and it's going to be in a crossover with Dave the Diver, so I am so excited about that. It's ridiculous how hyped I am.
That is amazing. That is so good.
And I know this is biased because I worked with the team, I worked on the marketing for it, but Domekeeper, I love Domekeeper.
Yes, that's actually in my backlog of things to play.
It's so lovely. Like there's my little Drillbert plushie up there. The team at Biff and Bits, I'll shout out to them, are one of the nicest dev teams I have ever worked with. They are
that's amazing.
The most wholesome, lovely, supportive, wonderful bunch of human beings ever. And that game just has a very special place in my heart because the game is just addictive. Like it's one of those ones that if you put on your Steam Deck and suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you're like
you boot it up, it's like just an hour or two, and then suddenly the entire day is just passed.
That is Domekeeper, to the point that when I first started playing it before I started working at Raw Fury, and it came out like a year before I started there, and I had to like stop myself playing it for a while because I kept getting to 3 a.m. and being like, oh god. I just love it, and the team put out so much free content for it as well. That's the other thing. Like Renee's really the lead developer is really passionate about like the way games used to be, and how you didn't have to pay for
I
like extra
know.
DLC
It's like
and
you think you think you're paying for the game and the experience, and then you need to like pay for like the extra added stories or added characters, and all of a sudden you're just digging very deep in your wallet for an experience you thought you were getting
already bought. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
the amount of updates that they've put into that game is unbelievable, and their passion really shines through. And also the community is like
I was
the
about to
most
say,
wholesome community. They are so loving to each other, so supportive, offering tips, advice, because there's like a competitive sort of leaderboard in one of the modes, and they instead of being precious, they help each other, and they're just wonderful. I miss that community a lot, and
I was gonna say,
really
yeah,
love
that
them.
sounds. It's always really nice, isn't it, when as a community professional or someone working in the community sphere for gaming, and you have a community that's so helpful and insightful and kind to each other and helpful, and not like that sort of very toxic environments that can happen with some communities. And working in those, because I've been in that situation where it's been a bit of a intense, you're in the trenches, just kind of like shots are being fired and you're trying to like, I'm just here to try and help. I am on your side. Like when you have a wholesome community like that, it really sets memories for you as well, I guess then, like, because you
really
have such...
It really does. I think the last thing I did with the Domekeeper community was we did a mod jam. And so for those of you that like aren't devs and don't know what those things are, so, game jams are things that you can hop into. They're little sort of sometimes competitions, sometimes not, where you get a time limit, and everybody has a role. You can do it on your own, and you have to make a game, usually to a theme. And they're little tiny projects that you work on. Sometimes these turn into games, which is what Domekeeper was. It did start out
exciting,
as a game jam game. I think it was a LudoCon, something like that. I think it was one of those, but it turned into a game. And so to honor that, when we added modding back into the game, decided to do a mod jam so we could make it into a little competition for the community. And we didn't have a theme. The theme was Domekeeper. And so we did a week-long event where we put people in teams. Some people did it on their own. They had a whole week to create something for the game, and then we took another week to judge them. And then the very last thing I did was do an award show. So we did our own little award show, kind of like the Game Awards.
I love that.
It was so wholesome. Like, people came to the award show wearing suits and ties, so when they accepted their awards and put on their cameras and they were suits and ties, they were just in suit.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
It was the most wholesome, wonderful way to end a role I've ever had, and I think I will remember that night for the rest of my career. Like, it was just so special.
That's it.
And I know amazing. It was special today as well. He said the same thing. He was just like, that was so, like, the community just really came together and was so uplifting and wholesome. And wonderful, so.
Community will remember that for a long time as well, because they take note of, of what has been done for them and with them as well. So you I'm sure that you are in loads of people's memories after that as well. I just think back at it.
Well, they're in mine because that was very special to me. So I loved that very, very much, and that game will always be one of my favorites.
That's amazing
for many reasons. So
wow. Yeah, I feel like I want to go and play games now, actually. You're talking so passionately about games, but this is what happens, like, when you work in the industry. As soon as I start talking about games and the things that I enjoy, and with other industry adjacent or in the industry folks, it's just always really nice to share experiences.
It is. Like, one of my best friends in the industry is Dan from Kepler Interactive, and obviously Expedition 33 has just come out.
Oh, it has, yes.
And that is my current obsession. It's AA, I would say, but there's only 30 people made that game, and I just can't comprehend that, because it is AAA quality with a AA budget, and like I've cried 3 times, and I'm not even halfway through. Like, and I ugly cried, like I was wrecked. like the writing is just exceptional. But having
Wow.
Dan work at Kepler, and like he knew what was coming and knows everything that's going on. Every time something happens, I'm like, why didn't you warn me?
You should have said something. Just at least like give me a heads up.
Yeah. But I love that. I love having that, and I love having the friends that have that inside knowledge and like that sort of bants you get from it, where they're like they know what's coming and you don't. And
that's really that's really good. I had this with my friend and former colleague. She's actually one of the community managers on Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, cool.
So when we were talking about the game, and I was like, okay, so I've just got to this area, and she's like, have you met so and so yet? And I was like, who? She's like, let me know when you do. You will know. And I was like, this is very cryptic, but now I'm like, it's just so fun. And I think there's like one element of being in this industry. It's like a lot of people know each other or know someone who knows another person that knows. It's like, it's just such a big network of people. And I think that's really great because we get this sort of huge appreciation for one another, and we'll just know, like, I knew about you before
we knew each other before we knew each other, kind of thing.
Before we knew each other. And that's just a side effect of being in the industry. But it's like everyone's just so interconnected, and it's just amazing. So we get to experience these games and really be truly happy for the people behind the games as well.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. It's the most supportive community I've ever been a part of. Like, I think you look at the industry from the outside and you think, God, it's massive. Like, it's huge, and you don't realize just how small it actually is. Like, it's you know, even the big AAA companies, you know, I've got a good friend now who works at Arcane, who's made some of my favorite games of all time, like, and we just randomly connected on Discord, and like, because I've got a little dev server going and some people joined in, and there are people from Tencent in there and Ubisoft and all these sorts of places that you think are going to be like kind of out of reach because they're AAA, but it's not like that. Like, everybody who works in game dev supports everybody that works in game dev, whatever sort of level of the sort of tier system, I guess, you're working on. That doesn't exist within the community. Like, it's just so wholesome and so supportive, and everyone champions each other. And yes, okay, there are some toxic assholes, right? You get that in every industry.
There's everywhere,
You hear about it a lot in games, and I think it has given a negative image of what the industry is like, and I hate that, because actually it is a very supportive industry, and there are some truly wonderful people in this industry that will stand up for you, that will look out for you, that will help you. There's people that go out of their way to do portfolio reviews for each other in their own time,
not even expecting really much back either. I think that's one of the very key things that I've tried to tell people who are on the outside of this, that I could sort of ask for help, or just be like, does anyone have like a good way to do X, Y, and Z? And someone's like, oh, actually, I have a full thing here. Like, I'll show you. And I will jump on a call, maybe, or they'll send me an email. And I was like, without any expectations, really, other than they just wanted to help and like make my life easier because they already knew the thing. And then in return, maybe they will post something I see. Oh, yeah, no, I can help with that. You know, but it's
exactly, that's all it is.
It is never really expected to return the favor, but it's like you just have this in like community of, you just want to support each other.
It's wonderful. It really is, and I'm really grateful for it, because I definitely didn't have anything like that in teaching. Like, there was nothing like that.
Quite different.
So it makes a difference, and especially because a lot of us work remotely as well, and I think that can be quite isolating.
Very much so,
So having that online community and places like Discord servers where we connect, or LinkedIn chats, or whatever it is, it makes a huge difference, and you don't feel so on your own. Like, I could go to EGX and know that I will see at least 10 people that I know and could hang out with, and not feel on my own, you know? and that's a big deal. Like that makes a huge difference, especially for like I'm neurodivergent. I have a bit of social anxiety. I know I come across as quite confident, but I'm very good at masking.
Sadly, it's like a
Yeah.
bit of a curse, isn't it, as well as working
Yeah.
in some situations.
But it means that before these sorts of events in the past, I would have had mass anxiety, and it might have stopped me going, and I would have hated it. Now I can confidently say, no, I know they'll be there, or I know so and so will be coming later, and I'll feel better because I know that I've got that community of support around me, and friends that genuinely are going to be excited to see me, because we don't see each other very often. So
yeah,
it's wonderful. It's a really wholesome feeling.
it really is. Yeah, I really love that about the events, and you get to network with new people as well. I'm very happy to get to know you and connect. Get that LinkedIn QR code going. I'm like, here you go.
My very first friend in the industry was Sophie, who I met when she was working at PCube. And then she was just like on a stand nearby, and like we were setting them up.
Yeah.
And the setup day, and then we just became friends, and we've been friends now for like 6 years nearly.
That's
like
it.
So
that's it.
Yeah.
So all these encounters turn into long-lasting connections and friendships. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It really is. It's really nice, and it just sort of, I think any kind of misconceptions about what the industry is dissolve straight away. Like it's gone. Because like before I entered the industry, there was a lot going on about like sexism at Activision and Rockstar and places like that, where it was all in the news at the time, just before I was entering the industry. And so as a woman coming in, I was like,
you just take that step and you go, wait, should I put down, or should I just like slowly back out?
I was really nervous about it. And I have had some experiences like that. I'm not gonna lie. I have had a few experiences where men have rejected my ideas and then said the exact same thing and been praised for it, word for word, verbatim. So I have experienced that kind of thing, but it's few and far between compared to how much positivity and support there is. And I think that needs to be talked about as much as possible, because people could be put off like trying to get in, when actually it's a very supportive place. And that's for people from all walks of life, and like you mentioned earlier, like I'm working with Nothing Without Us, because one of the big things is that when you are disabled or neurodivergent, breaking into any industry is very difficult. Breaking into the games industry itself is difficult for anybody. So there are lots of organizations designed to help to break down those barriers and support you and help you, whichever minority you're a part of. And Nothing Without Us just happens to be doing that for disability and neurodiversity. But there are so many different organizations designed to help you do that. That I guarantee you'll find something if you look for it. So it's a wholesome place. People want to help you break in.
That's it. I think that's very comforting as well for myself, as someone who's quite in the recent year or two realized my own neurodivergency, because I think so differently. So I've had many situations where I just haven't known how to navigate a certain situation, because it's hard to get someone to see your point of view when you aren't used to your own point of view, if that makes sense. You're just kind of like, how do I explain that this doesn't work for me? I'm a very visual person. I need emojis and color-coded things. That doesn't vibe very well with someone who's maybe more, have a full written document with labels and brackets, but it's all text. I just see a swimming list of like letters. But if you put a bit of blue, yellow, red, green in there, and I'm just like, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking at. So it's been my own little journey trying to, communicate with other people how I work. So I think it's really great that people are a little bit more, I find companies, or when you're getting employed now, a lot of people will ask you for pronouns, for example, which I think is really good, being respectful of that, as well as diversity with neurodiversity. And to be like, okay, so is there any particular things that we can do that will help you? So I feel confident now saying, this doesn't work for my brain. And they're like, cool,
Yeah.
do it your way.
Yeah.
So having help as well doing that, I think could have made that process for me a little bit less frustrating.
Yeah, I feel you. I absolutely feel you.
Yeah.
It's,
you don't always know how to start.
Well, no, you don't. And also the thing with neurodiversity, especially, I mean, I can't speak for other countries, but for the UK particularly, like a lot of people in our generation are finding out now that they're neurodiverse,
Yes.
particularly women, because it goes misdiagnosed, or
Yeah.
you know, undiagnosed,
and high masking capabilities.
exactly. And there is a 5-year wait list right now to get officially diagnosed. Yep. And there's that difficulty that some people have in saying, well, I'm neurodiverse if I haven't officially received that diagnosis yet. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to wait for that diagnosis. If you recognize those things within yourself and coping strategies help you, then they help you, and it doesn't matter whether you've got the official diagnosis or not. Like if you need those sort of accessibility steps to access things, you need them. You don't need to wait for a diagnosis to get them. Like
I think that's very reassuring. I don't know if any listeners would find that reassuring as I do, because I felt not like I was a, imposter or anything, but you do kind of doubt yourself a bit. It's like, well, if no one's officially told me, then am I really though? Am I just being dramatic?
Yeah, which is a thing we get told a lot as
which we said, like, I don't understand why you're so sensitive and so dramatic and why do you need this? And I'm like, well, I guess I am just being dramatic, but no, don't. I think that's very reassuring for a lot of people to hear.
Good. Hopefully it is, because you know it's valid. You're valid. The things you help you require to get where you want to get, you're entitled to it. Okay. And that's why we do what we do at Nothing Without Us. That's why Molly started it to help people break into the industry, to help people realize that there are pathways in for everybody, and to also highlight that to studios and publishers and places in the industry, because a lot has changed since COVID. COVID was, as awful as it was a blessing in disguise for people who need to work remotely. Because it just didn't exist beforehand, really. Like
it didn't. It's amazing how it's changed now.
Because as a disabled person myself, I use a wheelchair outside of the house and I use crutches inside. And before, in 2019, when I was looking to apply for jobs, there were places that I couldn't even apply for because the buildings were not accessible. Like, the place that I really, really, really wanted to work more than anything in the world, they were in an old, like, Victorian building that had no lift and 4 floors of stairs. And the main hub of where everyone worked was up 2 flights of stairs. And they just couldn't see how it could work with me being on the bottom floor and then being upstairs, and that's
just shocking to me as someone who's not really had that experience myself. Like I don't have that problem, but like imagine just that if there's the dream job and they're not, and you're a perfect candidate, but they can't accommodate
it's
just
really
you being
difficult.
Downstairs. Like it's not like you're asking for the entire world here either, really. It's like
people don't think, like, if they've never had to deal with that kind of diversity themselves or adversity themselves, it often doesn't cross people's mind just how much of a barrier it is, and how crushing it is. Like I was so depressed for a long time when I was trying to break in, because I just kept getting the same barriers over and over again. Like I couldn't go to an interview because they wouldn't do it remotely, or I couldn't get in the building, or there was so many different things where it was just like, none of this is my fault, and legally you should be doing something about it. But always there would be a reason that was not that would be used to why you weren't hired, when you knew for a fact that it wasn't that.
You'd be like, no, I know what the reason is.
So it's really hard, and it puts you in a really awkward situation. And I think a lot of people would give up. A lot of people feel like you can't fight. And also you shouldn't have to. Let's be honest, you shouldn't have to fight in that situation. But unfortunately you do. And so places like Nothing Without Us, Molly started to help combat that sort of situation, you know, to help people break in, to help people make changes, and to educate, basically. So that companies and people who want to break in know what they need to do and how they can do it. Because sometimes it just comes from ignorance, not being, you know, they're not trying to be malicious, they just don't know. And they'll use things like, oh, well, our building's got a code, so we can't put a lift in. It's like, no, but you could let them work remotely. Like, there are things you can do, you know? So it's that kind of level of education that's sorely needed. And I think it is happening more and more. But there's still quite a long way to go for disability and neurodiversity in the industry. And so that's, you know, that's why Molly started Nothing Without Us. And I'm really proud to be working with her, because she's incredible.
I think I need to educate myself as well, because as we've been talking, I've just been thinking about how would you, with a neurodiverse disability, like a mental disability of some sort, or a physical disability, attend events like EGX? Because last time I went to EGX, I could barely get around there, and I'm highly functional in a crowd. I don't like it, but I am highly functional. But like anyone who's like has a physical disability trying to get in there and like experience this event,
it's difficult.
You wouldn't be able to, but you're missing out on a great event of networking and other people.
That's it. That's literally why I started Dev Social. So I've got a Discord server for the industry. And I literally started it because events like GDC and Gamescom are not accessible, in the terms that, one, they're really expensive if you don't live in the country that they're in. And GDC in particular is extortionate. And even the online access is extortionate. And so you miss out on the opportunities to network and to get your game seen and to your ideas and things like that. And so the only thing I could think of at the time was, okay, I'm going to make a Discord server where during these events, we do a networking thing. So we have a game night or some kind of event where people can get together and chat and get to know each other, and do something where you're not just on your own at home wishing you were at this event, you know? And over the last year, it's become a safe place for developers, and I'm really, really glad about that, because we have regular game nights. We've met people from all across the world doing all different things in the industry. And we also share each other's work and support each other and help each other with ideas and career advice and post jobs and things like that. And that's just come out of the fact that these sorts of events aren't always accessible to people. I went to WASD in 2023 when it was still going. It doesn't exist anymore, sadly. And I was so excited to go to WASD, but it was one of the least accessible events I've ever been to, and they make an effort as well. So if you've never been to WASD or WASD, whatever everyone calls it,
I went once.
It's in quite an old building, London Tobacco Factory, and it's upstairs. And there is a lift. However, there is no signposting to said lift. We had to go around the building like twice before we found it. When we got there, it wasn't a person lift. It was a like bringing in the scenery kind of lift. And it was locked. And the person who was supposed to be there to let you in was off having a fag somewhere, so wouldn't let us in. And we were like, what do we do? So we just waited there for 20 minutes before he came back, and then he let us in, and we had to go and get permission anytime we needed to leave the building. It was just really poorly set up. And they do upstairs have a place for like quiet time, so neurodivergent people had a space to like be and calm and away from people, and I really appreciate that they had that.
That's something I've seen more often now, actually. I appreciate that
do it
too.
now as well. And it's very valuable to have that.
Yeah.
So they were thinking, but they also weren't thinking enough.
The execution wasn't quite there, but the thought, you could tell they were trying to think about how to do this.
But do you know how they can get around that? They can talk to actual disabled people and have them in the room and planning things.
It wouldn't take that much either to just have a reach out, because I'm sure many people would reply. It's like, hey, we're just looking to make our event a bit more accessible. If you have any kind of disability, let us know how we could accommodate if you were to come to this event. And talk to them, because you've got to research with the actual, you can't be like, well, so I think they would need this. Like, if I was to do that, I would probably make a very shoddy job of it as well.
How can you help a community without talking to said community? It doesn't work for me. Like, they also have a well-known party in the evening on one of the nights where it's an industry only party, because anyone can go to the event, so the public go to it, but the industry only party is just for people that work in the industry. The venue, again, you have to go downstairs to get into it, and for us to get into it with my wheelchair, we had to go down some horrible little back alley in a big city that, I'm from the countryside. London's a bit scary for me. We had to go down this horrible little back alley and wait by a door for someone to come and open it. And the door went in by the toilets, and it was all gross, and there was flies everywhere. It was just not nice. Like, and then you couldn't access the entire venue because it was split level, so I couldn't go out into the garden with everybody. And it's just these little things where people just don't think. They just don't think. And it's like, if something says it's accessible, that's great, but is it actually accessible as someone who has to try and use that? Like,
that's it. So when you see like it's advertised or described as accessible, you kind of take that with a bit of a grain of salt, because you're like, I don't really think so. And you research and you go, well, now, as much as you would be able to research as well, because sometimes they might not even, I don't know.
Until you get there, you don't know most of the time.
Yeah, because you could list accessible toilets, accessible ramps, accessible lifts and everything. But like you say, it could be what you've just described. And it's like you just kind of been shipped out in an alleyway and then just like smuggle through the back door.
And I think like it's quite, you feel degraded, and people don't really think about that, and it puts a dampener on how you're feeling, and you can't really enjoy yourself in the same way. And especially if you're also neurodivergent, and so you've already got social anxiety, and then you add that to the mix, and then you're ruminating on it, and you're stressing about it, and you're feeling angry. And a lot of us with neurodiversity have a really strong sense of justice, so then you get really angry about it, and you get frustrated.
Like, this needs to change.
And then you cannot enjoy the reason why you're there. So it's very difficult to deal with those sorts of things, and if you don't have places like Nothing Without Us championing you, these things aren't going to change, because a lot of us won't say anything about it because we don't like feeling like we're a problem, and we apologize for our own existence quite a lot of the time.
I was going to say, literally, just we kind of people apologize for just being there.
And that's a very British thing as well as a neurodiverse thing. So when you're both of those,
it's very hard just to exist in that state, really, isn't it?
So those sorts of things, you're right, can be very, very difficult.
How would you try and advise people who might not be neurodivergent or have any sort of knowledge about accessibility in that way? How do you think they can help? And I don't know, maybe not spread the word, but sort of champion for it as well. Like where could they start? Is it sharing sort of resources like?
So we put we're doing a lot of our educational content right now. Radders, who you might know from Twitch, is a Twitch partner, has been making some amazing videos that we've been putting out on TikTok and YouTube and sharing over our social about, at the moment, different resources that can help you break in, things like Into Games and Limit Break and Code Academy and things like that. If you see that, share it, because you never know who needs to see it, right? So if you have your own reach, even if it's like
just a reshare and a couple
might really benefit. Like, you just don't know. So that really helps. But also having conversations with your neurodivergent friends, like, you know, a lot of us are waiting to be able to express these things, right? And we want to share our experiences, and we want to help break down barriers. And I think if your friends are comfortable sharing their experiences, it can really help open your eyes and make you think a bit before you do things. Because, you know, you might be a junior right now, but someday you might be running a company, and those experiences can help make you into a better leader and help you make your company more approachable, more accessible, because approachable and accessible are not the same thing and often get conflated. And more inclusive, you know. So just talking to people and being there and going to events that are about accessibility, educating yourself, these are all really important. And, you know, every year Disability Pride Month comes along, and you'll see a lot of content going out during that month where companies share things, and then it goes quiet again for a year. So don't let that happen. Keep sharing things.
Keep sharing. It's a year-long thing. It just, you know, not just for 1 month.
No. So yeah, just do what you can to support those around you. If you see someone at an event who has a sunflower lanyard on, that means that they have some kind of disability or neurodivergence, and that you know, they've worn that to let you know that. So give them space. Like, don't assume that they're going to want to hug or want to be touched. Like, ask before you do things. I think, you know, I'm a very huggy person, but I have friends who really hate to be touched, you know? And I know that because I asked them before I tried.
And it's so simple, just asking. I do that with new connections I make now, because I'm very wary that I'll hug, but I need to have some rapport first. I need to know enough about you and have a couple of meetings, and then I'll be like, but so I always ask, I was like, are you a hugger? Would you like a hug? And the last person I asked was like, do you know what? I actually don't really like hugging. And I was like, that's cool. I will wave at you like this instead. And they're like, that's perfect. So now I meet them, I just do this little weird wave, and it's just become our thing. Yeah, it's become our little thing of how we greet each other now. Which is quite nice.
I can see you. I think just having those conversations, not being afraid to ask questions, and also not being offended if someone doesn't want to answer those questions, because they're not entitled to be your educator. Like, they don't have to teach you. So, you know, just being open and listening, I think is really important. And being an ally, being there, supportive, signaling, it makes a big difference, genuinely.
That is really good. I think that's really important. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful positive note to end our episode on. Love to talk to you more. So if you're interested in the future to come back for another chat, please let me know. But yeah, that concludes this episode of the Game Dev Local Podcast. So I've been your host, Carina. And big thank you to Jarvs for being my guest today. Do you want to share any sort of social channels and links? Let me know. Yeah, you can let them know here now as well before we end this.
I'm going to be really cheeky because I'm really proud of it, and I want everybody to go and see it. Please wishlist Modulus on Steam. It's the game I'm working on right now, and
amazing.
I love it so much. It's a factory automation game, but it's a creative one. So instead of it being about timers and enemies, it's just about finding your flow and being creative. And I love it so much, and I'm so proud to be working on it. So Modulus on Steam, and then I'm just Jarvs on everything. So if you want to follow me, Jarvs or Jarvs Tasker on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to talk neurodiversity and disability in the industry and help with anything. I do CV reviews and stuff for people trying to break in. And if you are in the industry and you want to join Dev Social, hit me up and let me know, and I'll get you an invite.
That sounds amazing. I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.